Hi, I'm Phyllis from southernfrugal.com. This afternoon I'm going to make some date walnut double-deckers. Now, this was a recipe that was in a Better Homes and Gardens magazine, and it was either 1970, 71, or 72. And I have doubled that recipe and altered it just slightly. I'll tell you what I did to alter it, but I wanted to show you this. Look at that. Yeah, I found the date right down here. It said November, but it didn't tell me the year because it was torn off. Now, obviously, I've made these a lot and used this recipe a lot, and I have copied it over, and I'm going to show you at the end of the video so you can more clearly see it, because see, part of it's even torn off. But anyway, I made these a lot, and they freeze very, very well. And they're pretty easy to make based on how good they are. And that's the way I sort of judge them. If it's a lot of trouble and they taste really good, then the trouble's okay. But, you know, if they're just sort of okay and it's a lot of trouble, that's a recipe I don't usually do very often. So, anyway, I'm going to make this in the food processor. And I'm doing that because I want it to be easy. So the first layer is the crust. You're going to need 2.5 cups of just regular all-purpose flour. Now I'm going to just dump everything right into the food processor. Now you can mix this up by hand if you don't have a food processor. Just mix it up like you would mix up cookies. Alright, now I'm going to need about, I don't know, half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to do that out in my hand for the sake of time. So we'll just call that 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. 2/3 a cup of just regular white sugar. And 1 stick of butter. And this is where I altered it. Since I've doubled the recipe, I'm going to use 1 stick of butter and 1/2 cup of Crisco shortening. So I'm just going to put that right into the food processor. And then for the butter, of course, it's still cold. It's not like at room temperature or anything. I'm just going to cut that up into little sections. No big deal, just get it in there however you can. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just put in a few drops of vanilla extract, not much. Now remember, this is a cookie crust, so that may be half a teaspoon of vanilla. Now I'm going to just sort of get that to the crumb stage, which won't take but just a short time in the food processor, so I'm going to leave the video on. Okay, we're there already. Now to this I'm going to add 1 whole egg. I'm just going to crack that right there and dump it right in. And that is a large egg. And I'm going to mix that in again with the food processor. I'm going to stir down the side just a little bit. I've got a really old food processor. Okay, now it's all kind of come together, started clumping together, and now I'm going to dump it right out into a 9x12 or 9x13 Pyrex dish or pan. Just dump the whole thing right out. I'm just going to use my hands to get that out of there. And now what you want to do is press it into the bottom Just use your fingers, whatever you need to do to get it into the bottom. And try to have it the same, thickness if you can. So just press it down. Try to get it even again. Now it doesn't have to go up the sides, unless you want it to. You could press it up the sides just a little bit, maybe a ½ inch if you wanted to. I'm going to use a little PVC pipe and just roll it out a little bit, but you don't really have to do this. You could just use a round glass to do this. And actually the little finger marks in it will help the filling we're going to put in this to better adhere to the bottom. Okay, I think we're ready now. Now we're going to bake this in the oven for 20 minutes, and we're going to bake it just until the little outside edge starts turning brown, and that'll probably be right at 20 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven, and I'm going to get ready to mix up the top part of this cookie, and I'm going to go ahead and just wipe out my food processor, get that little residue out of there, and I'm going to actually mix up the filling inside the food processor also. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back and we're ready to mix up the top layer of this cookie. Now, you will need 2 packs of chopped dates. You just need 8-ounce packs, and they come like this. They're in a shrink wrap sort of little package. And what I do is just take, a razor blade and just cut them open. And then I'm just going to dump those in a separate bowl. See, do the razor blade and then just kind of bend them sideways so they're easier to get out that way. Okay, now I'm just going to scrunch those up with my hands so they'll, come all apart. And again, these are chopped dates, and so they have actually been rolled in sugar, which probably helps preserve them, and plus they're dried. Now, if you don't use this kind, if you use whole dates, you'd need to snip them up with the scissors into little pieces. All right, that's good enough. Now, to this mixture, I'm going to add 2 cups of walnuts that have been just slightly chopped, and they were whole walnuts, and I did that in the food processor just to make it go a lot quicker. So I'm just going to mix those with my hands and kind of get them evenly distributed. All right, and I am cooking my crust for 25 minutes, so the recipe really says for 20 minutes, but with my oven, it takes longer sometimes, and that would be at 350 degrees. Okay, now we're ready for our liquid part of the filling. And I'm just going to do that in my food processor. I don't even bother washing it because it's all kind of the same ingredients. So you need 2/3 of a cup of light brown sugar, 2/3 of a cup of white sugar, just regular granulated sugar, 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 4 eggs. Just going to dump everything right in. 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. Excuse me, 2 teaspoons, sorry, not tablespoons. I'm going to need just 1/2 teaspoon of salt. There you go, 1/2 teaspoon. And then we're also going to need 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Just sprinkle that in. Now this is how quick this is going to go. All done. All right, now I'm just going to hold the bottom of this and dump this right over my walnuts and chopped dates. Okay, there's my bottom crust for this. So I'm going to go get that and be right back. Slightly browned around the edges. Okay, now we're just going to mix this top layer, mix that liquid in with the walnuts and the dates, chopped dates. So this is 2 cups of, 2 8-ounce packages of chopped dates and 2 cups of just English walnuts. Now, don't think you'd want to substitute another kind of nut. First of all, the English walnuts are very healthy, and it really gives a distinct taste with the walnuts. Now, this is very hot. I'm going to dump this batter right in on top of it. Just try to spread that out evenly over your bottom crust. Now what's going to happen is when the heat hits these dates along with the liquid that's in there with the eggs, it's going to really actually melt the dates. Or at least that's what I call it. It just kind of melts. Now I'm going to need to pick this up and just shake it around a little bit, and it's still of course very hot because I want that liquid evenly distributed. So I'm just going to kind of shake it a little bit. Alright, I'm going to put this back in the 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes in my oven, maybe a little longer, and we'll be back then. Okay, my date walnut double-deckers are ready, and I'm going to bring them out of the oven, and I want you to see how puffed up they are. There they are, all puffed up. Now they're going to shrink back down as soon as it starts cooling. And the next step is real simple. Take some regular confectionery sugar and just put it in a strainer and just sprinkle it over the top. All right, there you have it. Now I will do a little video after these have all cooled and I cut them so you can see what they look like. But I want to show you the recipe. Turn this around so I can see it. Alright, there's the recipe. Here's the filling. And here are the directions. And these do freeze very, very well. And I want to show you the dates again. Now, I'll show you this one more time. Now, depending on your oven, you might have to cook them a little longer than 20 minutes. I know in my oven I do. Now, if you wanted to, up here on the crust, you could go ahead and use 2 sticks of butter or 1 cup of butter. That would work too. Now remember, I have doubled this recipe because when I make these, I definitely want to make a lot because they freeze really well. And I can just pop them in the freezer, and when I want to eat one, I can take it out and pop it in the microwave on defrost, and they're good. All right, here are the dates. Now I want to explain about the dates. You can get these in Walmart, probably all over the country, and the way you find them is they're going to be where the raisins and the fruit are, and they're probably going to be on the bottom shelf. Now, when I bought these were the last 2 packs in a very large Walmart store. So a lot of times around Christmas time, you know, when people are doing Christmas baking, you can find these in the center aisle along with all the other baking stuff. So anyway, there's the recipe. And here's my old recipe with part of it torn off on the side. Anyway, I've used it a lot. All right, here's what they look like, and they've shrunk down just a little bit. So I'm going to wait till these cool, and we're going to cut them, and I'm going to show you what they look like. All right, we'll be back. Okay, we are back, and our little walnut date, little double-decker, it's not completely cool, but it's almost cool. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I cut it. And by the way, I ended up cooking this top section here, you know, once the bottom crust was done, and then I filled in with the top. I cooked it 30 minutes in my oven. Now your oven might only take 20 minutes, but what you want to do is make sure this center is, you know, not jiggly, but that it's, you know, pretty well set. So I'm going to show you how I cut this now. I'm going to cut it in half, and by the way, you want a very sharp little knife and a little wet rag because the dates are going to sort of stick to your knife. So you want to cut it in half. See how it kind of sticks to the knife? You want to wipe that off. Then cut that part in half. And in the top section in half again. Now, even if you let it completely cool, it's still kind of hard to cut. All right, now I'm going to cut it in half down the middle. Now this is very rich, so it doesn't really take but a small piece. I'm going to cut it one more time. And again. All right. Let's see how I had to wipe my knife off multiple times. Now, I think I'm going to take this piece right here. Maybe the end piece. And by the way, you'd want to go around the edge with your knife also. And again, the reason it's hard to cut is because of the nuts. There it is. It smells so good, and I'm going to have a glass of milk with this. So I hope you'll try these. It's very easy to make them when you do it in the food processor. One of the longer ones out. Again, you need a very sharp knife. And letting them cool completely before you cut them really doesn't help much. They still kind of crumble, you know, where you cut it. There's another piece. Give you a close-up of that. Oh, so good. See how the dates are all melted? All right. All right, so we're going to get us some milk and have a treat now. See you next time.